Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm PattyXRP.
So today we're going to talk about the confiscation of the XRP Escrow. Now, PattyXRP wrote a wonderful blog about this on the DeFiStandard.com, and I'll post the link in the description below, but I also encourage everyone to check out the DeFiStandard.com. There's a ton of information on there regarding Flare, XRP, and all the current crypto events. So lately, especially the last few days and the last week, there's been a lot of speculation about what is potentially possible with this escrowed XRP that Ripple holds, roughly around 49.50 billion. And now, Patty, do you think that the U.S. government can actually confiscate this escrow from Ripple? And if so, what does it mean for us as XRP holders?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying it is possible that that could happen. And that would be, in the theories that are going around is through this idea of eminent domain that the federal government has the power to put in action, which is basically their ability to expropriate private property for a public good or a public project. And so in the past, things that the US government will seize from people is it could be intellectual property, real estate, other types of like financial assets. I think they've done investment funds before, as crazy as that sounds. But just because they could technically order Ripple to do that doesn't mean that the US government or Ripple has the final say in this matter. And this kind of leans into a tweet that David Schwartz had from back in December, where he posed the idea that the validators, if they wanted to, could vote to burn the XRP that is in escrow currently, and Ripple would not be able to stop them.
Now, why is it possible that the validators are able to stop Ripple? Now, we know there's 37 validators that vote. Now, why is it that Ripple can't stop that?
Yeah, so over time, there's been a great deal of work done to ensure that the validators are decentralized across the XRP ledger. So one entity doesn't have too much control over its forward path and amendments. And Ripple only possesses 6 of the validators on the unique node listing. And that equates to around 16% in voting power. And in order to stifle an amendment, you would have to have at least over 20%. And then also to push forward an amendment and enact it, it would need 80%. So Ripple neither has the power to stop an amendment from going through or to force an amendment through that they would like to see happen on the XRP ledger. So this is like a really important point to understand, is that if the US government were to court order via eminent domain or maybe some other legal ability that they have, Ripple would not be able to, just go ahead and do that automatically. The validators would have a say in if they wanted to burn that escrow, and in a sense, they would have to let it happen. And so also I know with the XRP escrow, since it's delivered to a wallet address that Ripple currently has control over, there's some other verifications, right, Mickey, as far
Yes.
as like how they get that?
Yes. So just to clear up one more other point here, I just want everyone to know Ripple does not hold the escrow, and no other third party holds the escrow. And I know if you look in Webster's dictionary, escrow means held by a third party. When it comes to distributed ledgers escrows, it means the actual XRP ledger is that third party. So it's cryptographically locked in this escrow to release 1 billion per month. Nobody, not Ripple, not the government, can change that. So it releases to a multi-sig wallet. And we know, I think Chris Larson, Brad Garlinghouse are on that signers list, but we don't know who all those other signers are. Some of those could be smart programs or smart contracts signing. So we don't exactly know how Ripple has that set up when it's released to as well. And like Patty was saying here, the XRP ledger is sufficiently decentralized because Ripple can't force any amendment through, and they also can't veto any amendment through by only having 6 of the 37 validators. So going into the future here, Patty, how do you see the XRP ledger being a decentralized network and being immutable from these type of things? What kind of ability does that give the ledger compared to these governments who have tried to control everything in the past?
Yeah, and I want to actually touch on one other thing that
Go ahead.
occurred to me with the multi-sig wallet. I mean, it's very possible that Ripple has thought this scenario through, and they have people that are signers on that wallet that are in another country that maybe the SEC or the US government wouldn't have jurisdiction over. So that was just something interesting that popped in my head. We don't know that, obviously, like you were saying. But to get back to the, the other point you were asking is this fact that, the XRP ledger is an open, decentralized protocol that's across the entire world. There's validators in many different countries that are running this. So one jurisdiction or like sovereign nation does not, have final say on anything that happens with the XRP ledger. And while I don't, I wouldn't prefer the XRP escrow burned. I think they created 100 billion XRP, knowing full well what they wanted to do with that in the future, or at least have the ability to do something with that in the future, which you've covered on past videos about the XRP escrow. But let's just say this scenario plays out where the SEC was, or I guess it wouldn't be the SEC, but the US government was to, put eminent domain forward and try and seize that from Ripple. And then the validators voted to burn all the XRP in escrow. I mean, is that not like decentralized to a T? I don't think anybody could ever say that the XRP ledger is not decentralized after that. With them withstanding the full force of the US government and, not allowing them to do what they want to do, which, normally the US can get away with. So this can kind of take us into another route is, is the US government claiming the XRP escrow or trying to take control over it to like maintain power in the financial system actually a beneficial path for them to do? Or are they more looking to, basically just not have one company in control of that, because there's around 45 billion there. And it's possible if XRP, becomes a used global bridge asset, that the value of that escrow could increase dramatically. But, it may not make the most sense for the US government to have that when there's already countries that are trying to get away from the US financial stranglehold with systems like SWIFT and their ability to put sanctions on other countries. So to me, the United States claiming it would kind of, it wouldn't do anything for them other than kill innovation in their own country. And Ripple building on the XRP ledger is like one of their best shots at having a leader in the new financial world.
Exactly. It defeats the purpose of the idea of a neutral bridge asset. And that's what David Schwartz has always said, that these central banks will eventually want a protocol or a asset that neither they could control nor the other countries can control. And that's what the biggest value proposition to the XRP ledger's protocol and asset XRP is that nobody can control it, because these countries are never going to be able to decide on one asset that they all agree on, because they're all going to want some type of control. So like David Schwartz says, the best choice is one that nobody can control. And this goes into that whole Mark Carney thing with saying that a basket of 5 currencies. Now, what about all the other currencies that are out there in the world? and David Schwartz called that a pipe dream. So this is a true neutral asset and a decentralized ledger where nobody can control it, nobody can confiscate it. It's immutable and it's censorship resistant. But that doesn't mean it can't be compliant at the same time, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I also think it just comes down to, what is the most important aspect of the XRP ledger? Is it the protocol itself, or is it the XRP? And you know the saying, value is in the protocol. So like what does seizing the XRP escrow actually accomplish for the US government? I think that's like one of the biggest points. It's like, yeah, we can throw this idea that they could try and do that out there, but does it actually make sense for them to do that? And I don't really think it does. And, for the reasons we've been outlining right here. And then, there's also, people speculate about how high the price of XRP can go. And they're like, oh, Ripple would be the most, highest valued company in the world because of the XRP escrow if the XRP reached a high price, which may be true, but also it gets released over time. So with finance, there's this thing called the time value of money, and $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. I would assume the same thing applies with XRP, especially when you're adding in stuff like Flare, where you can now earn yield on XRP. So the longer it sits in there, it's not worth as much to me, in terms of time value of money. I think that's an important point to note. Also, if Ripple just were to dump all the XRP from there, then the price of that XRP coming out is not equal to what the current market trading price is, because obviously when you flood the market with a ton of supply of an asset, the price shoots down extremely quickly. So it's not just this like one-to-one equation where, oh, XRP is worth $10, so we're going to value Ripple, the company, at, what would it be, 450 billion, because they have that sitting in escrow. And I think that's another important point. There's just a lot of things that go into this, and to me, the best long-term option for the US is to allow innovation to thrive within its own country, just like it did with the internet eventually back in the day, and many other industries. And that's one of the reasons the United States is like a leader to this day. But we all see that they're, it seems like they're behind the ball at this point when it comes to cryptocurrency and blockchain. And this move against the XRP ledger and Ripple is just like another show in that. But hopefully, as we get new leadership in there and things change, maybe they'll come to realize, where the value actually is. And that's in the protocol, not in the, in XRP, the native asset. That's just like basically the vehicle that transmits value over top of the XRP ledger.
Exactly. So. And now, does Ripple really doesn't need to sell the escrow to survive financially. I mean, they're worth $10 billion, and they have hundreds of contracts that are in production that they're earning licensing fees every month on. And they're also, once this case is settled, on the brink of an IPO that could raise them close to $100 billion. I mean, or at least a valuation of $100 billion, and they could raise 50 or so billion. So they don't need to sell this escrow to survive financially. And I think that's another thing that we've seen a misconception in the community lately. But there's also plenty of other things that they could negotiate with the SEC to show how it could be distributed without them necessarily profiting. And I did a series on these called the XRP Escrow series. So I'll link those in the descriptions below or at the end of the video to check out, because this is one subject that Patty, myself, and the rest of the DeFi Standard team have covered and discussed the past couple of weeks to couple of months a lot about. And it's a really fascinating topic, and I think it is at the core of this SEC settlement. Just don't think that with what we explained today, that confiscating the escrow is even possible by the U.S. government because of the validators. But what does it really achieve? And I believe Ripple has known that at some point they have to do something with the escrow. And I'm sure that's part of the negotiations right now because they don't need it financially to survive. There's ways, just look at Flare Network and how they have their extra supply is being distributed in rewards pools to those who bring over F assets to the Flare Network. Now, we could think that at some point the escrow can be used in that way. We're not sure how high that level goes. Does it go to the central bank level? But it has to be fair for all the central banks. And like what you were saying, Patty, it's not the monetary value of the escrow, because Bob Way told us back when XRP was priced around 45 cents in 2019, which ironically it just happens to be now, its real value, if they went to sell all at once, or theoretically could, it'd be like 2 to 3 cents. So the value is not in the escrow's monetary value to pay off debt or something like that. It's to be able to use, like you said in this blog, to incentivize liquidity, incentivize good behavior on the network.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And you know, I gotta think that the United States is aware of that as well. You know, unless they're really just trying to, you know, kill our future financially going forward, I don't see them doing this. You know, there's throughout history, huge companies have risen that have gained lots of power. I mean, look at what Amazon, Google, Facebook, how big those companies are. And, you know, I think a lot of people argue they have more power than many countries out there. So like, I don't think it's a crazy idea that Ripple could be left, you know, with the escrow. I don't know if I would say it's likely, but, you know, we're going to continue. Valuations are going to get higher. There's more money in circulation. It's just things are changing rapidly. So I don't know if we should try and peg everything into these boxes of how old society has worked. I mean, it may just be outpacing the people in the government. So,
Well
yeah,
said.
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably all I got
Well
on
said.
it. Yeah.
And also, Ripple has been thinking about this for 8 years. Because in the beginning, there was no real way to distribute XRP. And if you look back at the World Community Grid, Ripple was actually paying or gifting XRP to those who provided computing power to the World Computing Grid with IBM. So that was just an early strategy, but it goes to show there's other ways to distribute the escrow to incentivize certain behaviors within the network. And I'm sure Ripple has been thinking about this with all the genius and intelligent people on the team of how to go about that. So we have to wait and see how they're actually going to negotiate and play this out. But today, Patty's blog, I think, shows a very clear picture of how even if the government wanted to seize the escrow, they actually really can't. And it's up to the validators and the governance of the XRP network and protocol to decide what ultimately is the situation and what will happen in the end.
Yeah. And honestly, I'll throw on one more thing at the end there. Like, just think about some of the people that have worked with Ripple and on the XRP ledger for a long time, like David Schwartz, Arthur Brito, people of those nature. How do you think they're going to feel if the US government just comes in and seizes all the XRP? I think you could see a loss of like brain capital, basically human capital that's been building on the XRP ledger for years. So, yeah. But
I think they've taken steps to mitigate any possibility of that. And this is one way, is having them only controlling 6% of the validators. It's sufficiently decentralized in that way. And also the nodes that handle a lot of the incoming traffic and transactions to the ledger, they have that XRP, the cluster right now, which was described in the XRP dev Twitch video today, Matt Hamilton described. And that's where nobody has to count on Ripple to send all these high volume transactions into the network. So if Ripple disappeared tomorrow, the XRP ledger functions fully without a hitch. So I think all the use cases that John Deaton has seen on Twitter and asked everyone to post. It was a really amazing show by the community to prove how many use cases there really are for XRP right now, with the number one being on-demand liquidity at a commercial bank and then eventually central bank level. But in the meantime, there's plenty of use cases for retail, for SMEs, for e-commerce, for web monetization, and these are all just going to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I'm willing to die on this hill, so I fully believe that the XRP escrow is not going to be in the government's hands, and I'll eat crow if it happens.
I agree on that too. I do not see these genius people allowing this to be given up to the government just because they say so. And this is what the strength and the robustness of these decentralized networks is. And Ripple, for how long, has been saying, well, in China, the Bitcoin miners are all in China. And what if the Chinese government just comes in and says, we're going to control the mining? There could be double spend. You've seen Brad Garlinghouse say that before. So they're not going to say that if then the same thing could happen to them by the U.S. government. And I think that's important, that they spent 8 years making sure that nothing could ever be, making sure that it's immutable and can't be confiscated. So when we do put out these speculative theories on Twitter and other places, we just need to make sure that we have the technical facts correctly before we speculate based on them. So I think, Patty, maybe we'll do our next video on private ledgers.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot easier to, tear down theories than to build up some really good ones. But I enjoy talking about this. The XRP escrow is a fun topic, and I know there's a lot of ideas about what could happen out there. So
yes, there is, and there's a lot more. We're probably going to speculate in the future, and I'm sure they're discussing it right now behind the scenes. So I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm PattyXRP.
And we're out.